Archangel Michael's message for July 10th. Stop ignoring the signs or prepare to face the consequences alone. He's been crying out for your attention. Do not skip. Tonight, as the clock nears July 10th, a divine stirring intensifies in the spirit realm. You have felt it, those sharp waves of emotion, the sudden silence in your soul, the flicker of unease that whispers without words. These are not coincidences. They are signs, urgent signs. Archangel Michael is no longer whispering. He's crying out, trembling with the weight of warnings ignored. This is not a message meant for everyone. This is for you. Yes, you. The one who's been brushing off the sleepless nights, the dreams filled with shadows, the intuitive nudges you call overthinking. Heaven sees you. Heaven has been trying to reach you. You've been walking with your eyes half open, your spirit dulled by distractions. But the consequences of spiritual blindness are no longer in the distance. They're at your doorstep. You were warned weeks ago through a gut feeling not to trust that person. You were urged in your spirit to walk away from that situation. You were shown red flags in flashes, through delays, disruptions, and detours. But you kept pushing forward, brushing it all off, telling yourself it's nothing. Now Michael says, the delay in your breakthrough isn't heaven's fault. It's your refusal to heed divine instruction. This isn't punishment. This is a wake-up call before it's too late. Michael is not angry. He is weeping. Yes, weeping. Because his assignment is to protect you. But divine protection requires your participation. He has shielded you for as long as he could, even when you were numb to the signs. But now, the veil is thinning. The danger is near. And if you won't listen, you will walk into something you're not prepared to fight. This is your chance, your one final moment to lean in, to truly listen, to open your soul and receive what heaven has been screaming through silence. Do not scroll. Do not skip. What follows may save your life, or what's left of it. Type I am chosen to get the blessing 7474. The moment you chose to stay and read, the spiritual realm shifted. Not everyone responds when the divine speaks, but you did. That matters. Archangel Michael sees it. He feels the tremor in your spirit, the war between your intuition and your mind. You've been trained by this world to rationalize everything, to suppress the supernatural in favor of the logical. But heaven doesn't operate through logic. Heaven moves in patterns, warnings, symbols, and promptings. And now, Michael is commanding your full attention, because what's coming will require it. You've asked why things haven't changed, why the same cycles keep replaying in your relationships, in your finances, in your peace. The answer was never hidden. It's been echoing in the background like a smoke alarm you've gotten used to ignoring. But alarms exist to save lives, not to comfort ears. And right now, that constant emotional exhaustion, the series of alls and not yets, are not random. They are alarms. They are divine warnings. And ignoring them has already delayed your miracle. You've been praying for clarity, for breakthrough, for healing. But without obedience to the signs, blessings can become burdens. Michael says, you are walking toward a door that looks open, but behind it is spiritual sabotage. The very person you think is a bridge might be a barrier. The opportunity you're clinging to might be a counterfeit. There is a reason your body tenses when certain people enter the room. There's a reason your energy shifts around someone you still trust. That is not paranoia. It is spiritual discernment. Heaven had been highlighting this for weeks. But still, you hesitate. Still, you justify. Still, you beg for more signs while ignoring the ones already given. But July 10th marks a turning. And if you step past the threshold of this moment unaware, you will not like what's waiting. Type I am protected to get the blessing 4343. Michael is not bringing fear. He is bringing urgency. The tears he sheds are not of wrath but of divine frustration. Because he knows what you've prayed for. He knows the magnitude of your purpose. But he also knows that divine timing is colliding with disobedience, and the collision will not be pretty if it continues. This is not just about you anymore. What you do, or fail to do, will impact others connected to your destiny. That child you're raising, that vision you've been birthing, that healing you've been waiting for. They all hinge on what you choose in this moment of divine silence. You must quiet the noise now. You must still your spirit and lean into what heaven hath been showering. Don't look for loud miracles. Look for subtle shifts. The delayed text message. The wrong turn. The gut instinct not to enter that room. These are the ways heaven speaks when you refuse to pause. And if you pause now, even for this moment, something will shift. A curse will break. A cycle will end. But if you keep numbing out with noise, music, social media, overthinking, you will miss it again. And missing it this time might not just cost you time, it could cost you protection. Not because heaven is cruel, but because heaven honors agency. Archangel Michael can fight for you, but he cannot override your free will. Type I am rising to get blessing 5678. You were not meant to be wandering through uncertainty. You were meant to rise in discernment, to command your atmosphere, to sense danger before it manifests. That is your spiritual inheritance. But inheritance must be received, not assumed. And Michael says, you cannot carry my sword if you refuse to lift your eyes. That sword is not for decoration. It is for spiritual warfare. And warfare doesn't always look like screaming demons. It often looks like smiling liars, seductive opportunities, and doors that don't require prayer to open. If the door opens too easily, be cautious. If it makes you question your peace, pause. Michael is not just your protector. He is your coach in the spirit. But you must be coachable. Your name has been whispered in prayer by angels, but your name has also been spoken in rooms of envy. And unless you begin discerning the difference, you will keep opening your heart to those who only come to feed on your light. Every soul is not safe. Every opportunity is not divine. And July 10th will magnify both blessings and betrayals. The veil will thin. The spiritual realm will intensify. And Michael is saying now, you will either listen or you will learn. But either way, awakening is coming. Type I am chosen to get the blessing 1414. July 10th isn't just a date. It's a divine checkpoint. Archangel Michael says this moment has been circling your life for years, trying to land. You felt the interruptions, the patterns that repeat, the strange delays that defy logic. But instead of investigating spiritually, you explained them away with excuses. Bad luck, bad timing, bad people. What you didn't realize is that every delay was a rescue mission. Every closed door was divine protection. And every moment of silence was Michael screening through stillness. You were never being ignored by heaven. You were being redirected. But when you ignore the redirect, you delay the miracle. Obedience is not about blind submission. It's about spiritual alignment. Michael is not asking you to fear him. He's asking you to trust the warnings you've been receiving. Think of how many times your spirit whispered, "Don't trust them," yet you stayed. "Don't go," yet you moved. "Be still," yet you acted. And now you're tired. Not because you're weak, but because you've been walking against the current of divine flow. Archangel Michael says your fatigue is not a physical issue, it's spiritual resistance. You are exhausted because you are carrying consequences you were never meant to bear. Type I am awake to get the blessing 2929. There is a high cost for delayed obedience. You lose time. You lose clarity. You even lose relationships meant to stay, because blessings require alignment. You've been praying for restoration, but you've ignored instruction. Heaven cannot restore what you keep giving away to counterfeit voices. And Michael warns, a second delay on this matter may close a door permanently. The person you keep running back to, the one you know is a sole distraction, they are not confused. They are consistent in doing what damages you. It's not love, it's a leash. And heaven has given you the scissors in the form of dreams, messages, even strangers calling it out. But if you refuse to cut what drains you, don't ask why you feel empty. Heaven cannot fight what you continue to feed. And Michael is watching the timeline grow tight. This isn't about punishment. It's about momentum. What was scheduled for this season is time-sensitive. You are behind schedule in the spirit, and the window is narrowing. But the grace is still present. That's why this message has reached you in time. Not to gild you, but to jolt you. You don't need more prophecies. You need decision. Bold decision. The kind that severs ties with old wounds, old patterns, and old comforts. The kind that breaks generational agreements with delay. Because what's been delaying you isn't the enemy. It's your indecision. Type I'm aligned to get blessing 4848. Archangel Michael reminds you, indecision is still a decision. And in the spiritual realm, neutrality is surrender. The darkness you're meant to defeat will not wait for you to be ready. It preys on your hesitation. It watches for your weakness. And it hides behind distractions that look like blessings. You've been called to walk in precision, not confusion. But precision requires pruning. And pruning hurts. It feels like loss. But heaven doesn't take things to punish you. It removes to prepare you. Some things must be removed from your life so your soul can expand. So your discernment can sharpen. So your spiritual maturity can finally match your destiny. You've been chosen for more than survival. You've been marked for supernatural movement. But movement cannot begin until obedience becomes your language. Not delayed obedience. Immediate obedience. Heaven doesn't operate on your comfort. It moves on your agreement. And Archangel Michael says plainly, if you wait too long to obey, this door will shut and the next battle will be one you were never supposed to fight. You have been shielded thus far by grace, but grace has an expiration for those who refuse to move when prompted. Type I am moving to get the blessing 3131. Michael's sword has been drawn. He's fought off spiritual sabotage on your behalf. But now, the sword is being extended to you. It's time for you to wield what you've been hiding from. Your voice, your truth, your discernment. This battle will require your participation. The era of passive protection is over. July 10th is not just a spiritual checkpoint. It's a call to arms. Heaven is not looking for spectators. Heaven is recruiting warriors. And your delay has already cost you time. Don't let it cost you your purpose. This message did not find you by chance. It's confirmation of what your spirit already knows but your soul kept postponing. The shaking you felt in your inner world is divine discontent. It's heaven refusing to let you stay where your spirit is dying. Michael is crying not because he's helpless, but because he remembers the version of you that heaven designed. the one before betrayal, the one before doubt, the one before delay. And he's fighting for that version to rise again. But he cannot rise for you. If this message is piercing your spirit and helping you step into divine truth, consider giving a super chat or super thanks today. Your support of $20 helps us continue creating powerful, prophetic messages like this one. We are grateful for every seed you sow. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. You'll receive regular prophetic guidance, exclusive content, and spiritual tools to keep you aligned with your divine path. Type I am chosen to get the blessing 7272. You felt like something's been resisting you, and that's because it has. Archangel Michael speaks now with thunder in his voice. You are not imagining the resistance. There are forces aligned against your clarity, your calling, and your confidence. These forces do not come screaming through the night or clawing through windows. They show up wrapped in people who smile to your face but speak curses behind closed doors. You've been spiritually targeted, not because you're weak, but because you're potent. You are anointed. And every time you ignore the signs, the enemy gets closer to the door your obedience was meant to keep sealed. Michael says, you cannot walk in divine destiny while dining with spiritual sabotage. Someone around you is not what they appear to be. They are close, perhaps even part of your inner circle. But heaven keeps showing you glimpses, a strange vibe when you speak of your goals, a subtle dismissal when you express faith, a coldness when you shine too brightly. That's not insecurity alone. That's spiritual interference. Your discernment isn't broken. You've just been gaslit into ignoring it. The enemy's most dangerous disguise is not an obvious attack. It's familiarity with false intentions. Type I am aware to get the blessing 6262. Michael's message sharpens. You've been praying for elevation, but elevation requires evacuation. Some people cannot go with you where God is taking you, not because they are evil, but because they are not assigned to your future. Holding on to them is holding back your own timeline. This is why your blessings have been bottlenecked. Heaven will not pour new oil into contaminated spaces. And Michael is making it clear, if you do not cut off what's draining you, you will delay what's destined for you. Love cannot override purpose. Loyalty cannot outrank assignment. And pity must never outweigh protection. It's not just people, environments, habits, and emotional strongholds are part of this interference too. That pattern of self-doubt is a portal. That addiction to overthinking is a spiritual stronghold. That desire to please everyone, it's a silent contract with exhaustion. Michael is urging you to renounce these open doors, because as long as they exist, they give legal access to spiritual confusion. July 10th is your divine deadline to shut these doors, not with a whisper, but with a sword. You must evict what's been living in your soul rent-free. Type I am strong to get the blessing 3838. Heaven is not playing with your purpose. The window that's opening now is rare. It's the kind of divine opening that only comes around a few times in one's life. But Michael warns, you cannot walk into it weighed down with old alliances. The enemy knows your potential and has been planting counterfeit support around you. People who mimic love but drain your spirit. Voices that mimic wisdom but sow confusion. Every time you step into clarity, these counterfeits return, pulling you back into indecision. This cycle is not a coincidence. It's a coordinated spiritual trap. Michael's sword is not just for protection, it's for severing. You are being called into a season of radical severance. That means disconnecting from what's convenient, what's familiar, and what's secretly feeding on your energy. This next season will require you to walk lighter, speak clearer, and love from a distance where needed. Not out of bitterness, but from holy alignment. Obedience is not always soft. It is sometimes surgical. And heaven is holding the scalpel. Will you submit to the operation? Type I am separated to get the blessing 5551. This isn't about being paranoid. It's about being prepared. You're not being asked to mistrust everyone. You're being commanded to sharpen your discernment. Archangel Michael is not whispering anymore. He is shouting. Because you've walked into traps before. You've forgiven prematurely. You've explained away signs because the person was family, or the connection was deep, or the history was long. But none of those things change the spiritual truth. If something repeatedly disrupts your peace, dilutes your clarity, or delays your momentum, it is not sent by God. It is a spiritual parasite, and you must treat it as such. You may feel torn. That's normal. But don't confuse emotional conflict with spiritual confusion. The devil stirs emotions when the soul starts to awaken. The tears you cry while walking away from old patterns are not signs of weakness. They are signs of cleansing. And Michael reminds you now, you're not walking away from people, you're walking back into purpose. The pain will pass. The power will remain. Type I am chosen to get the blessing 8181. You've probably wondered, why has it felt like heaven's been quiet lately? Why hasn't God answered as fast or as clearly as before? Archangel Michael answers that question now. Heaven doesn't go silent to abandon you. It goes silent to observe your obedience. The silence you've experienced recently was never about punishment. It was the calm before your decision, the pause before the divine test. You weren't being forgotten, you were being watched. Watched to see if you would obey when no one clapped for you. Watched to see if you would leave what's draining you even when it comforts you. Watched to see if you would walk by faith or keep begging for signs. This silence had been sacred, and yet, your human mind wanted to interpret it as distance. But let's be honest, it's not that God hasn't been speaking. It's that the volume of your distractions has been louder than the whispers of instruction. Michael says you filled the space meant for divine download with overanalysis, opinions, scrolling, and circular conversations. You want clarity, but you've made no room for revelation. And now, July 10th looms like a bright line in the spiritual realm. It is not a threat, it is a timeline. And timelines in heaven are sacred. Type I am listening to get the blessing 2525. Heaven is not a vending machine. You cannot insert prayers and demand immediate results. Heaven is a government, and you are royalty within it. But royalty is accountable. You've been waiting on God, but God has been waiting on you. Waiting for you to detach from what numbs you. Waiting for you to purge what poisons you. Waiting for you to finally act on what you already know. You don't need another sign. You need to respond to the silence as if it were a trumpet. Because Michael says this, heaven has already spoken. You're just hoping for softer instructions. But what if the silence is the instruction? What if the withdrawal of peace from that relationship was a warning? What if the sudden dryness in your creative flow was heaven telling you it's time to shift environments? What if the delays, disruptions, and disinterest you've experienced are not random, but spiritual evidence that you're misaligned? Heaven is not punishing you. It's rerouting you. But rerouting feels like rejection when you're emotionally attached to the wrong direction. Type I am realigned to get the blessing 4141. Michael's tone turns gentle but firm. You're not in danger because God is silent. You're in danger because you haven't moved. The silence was your cue to step out, not stand still. You shift, not shrink. And if you keep waiting for loud miracles, you'll miss quiet instructions. This is the hour of quiet warfare, where obedience is your greatest weapon and stillness is your most radical stance. But stillness isn't passivity. The pleasure. Stillness is when you stop forcing what isn't flowing. It's when you stop feeding what keeps wounding you. It's when you stop asking for confirmation and start moving on conviction. Heaven will speak again, but only after you obey what was already said. The angels are not confused. They've been dispatched. They are standing by. But divine backup cannot override free will. The war around you will shift the moment the war within you is resolved. You don't need more time, you need more truth. And the truth is this: your delay has created distortion. What once was clear is now complicated. But that can change. If you obey now, clarity will return like sunlight after a storm. If you pause, purge, and pivot, you will feel the wind of heaven push you forward again. Type I am obedient to get the blessing 3693. There are no more signs coming, because you are the sign. You're awakening with the confirmation. Your conviction is the answer. A dream you had. It wasn't random. A gut feeling. It was prophetic. That closed door. It was divine protection. And Michael says, stop asking for permission to walk away from what heaven already told you to leave. Every moment you linger in disobedience is a moment you delay your destiny. And the longer you delay, the more you'll convince yourself that confusion is clarity. It's not. You know what to do. And now, it's time to do it. Michael's sword is extended once again. But this time, it's not to fight for you. It's to hand to you. Because July 10th marks a shift in divine strategy. What used to come easily will now require effort. Because race is gone, but because growth is here. The training wheels are off. You are being invited into mature faith. That means trusting heaven when the map is blank. That means releasing what you love when it no longer serves your future. That means walking alone for a season if that's what it takes to stay aligned. Type I am matured to get the blessing 7979. By now you've felt the message moving through you like fire. It burns not just with urgency, but with memory. Because deep inside, you know Archangel Michael isn't just confronting external forces. He's exposing the war within you. The sabotage isn't always someone else. It's often the self, the unhealed self, the overgiving self, the self that clings to comfort zones in the name of loyalty. This is the most dangerous battle you'll fight. Not against demons in shadows, but against the habits, voices, and identities you've silently nurtured that no longer belong in your next season. Michael says, the enemy didn't always block the door. Sometimes you locked it yourself with fear, insecurity, or shame. That fear of being alone. It kept you tied to people heaven already unassigned. That voice in your head that says you're too late, too much, too broken. It was planted long ago, but you've been watering it daily with self-doubt. The tendency to shrink your light so others won't feel small. It is false humility, and it has cost you divine moments. The enemy doesn't always need to attack you directly. He just needs you to keep limiting yourself internally. Type I am healed to get the blessing 1112. Let's speak plainly now. Heaven cannot elevate the version of you that was built from trauma. They must first break off that false self, the one that performs for acceptance, that seeks validation from silence, and that fears success because success feels foreign. Michael is saying, the real you, the anointed, unshaken, clear-sighted you, is buried under years of spiritual compromise. Every time you chose comfort over clarity, safety over surrender, pleasing others over obeying the Spirit, a layer was added. But July 10th is a peeling season, a sacred confrontation. Heaven will not allow you to walk into your calling dressed in your coping. You've called it personality, but heaven calls it protection. You've said, this is just who I am, but Michael says, no, this is who pain taught you to be. There is a divine difference. And if you don't recognize it now, you'll spend the rest of your life defending dysfunction and calling it identity. But you weren't made for repetition, you were made for revelation. You were built to disrupt generational patterns, not reenact them with a new face and fresh language. Heaven is clearing the path ahead, but it needs the real you to step forward. The one that existed before disappointment distorted your reflection. Type I am becoming to get the blessing 6842. And here's what's even more divine. Archangel Michael isn't ashamed of the broken pieces. He honors the fact that you survived this long. He knows the battles you fought in silence, the secrets you've buried beneath your smiles, the strength it took to just keep breathing when it felt like life had you in a chokehold. But surviving is not the same as thriving. And this message isn't just about protection anymore, it's about restoration. It's time to rebuild. Not just your surroundings, but your spirit. Not just your habits, but your identity. The spiritual self-sabotage ends here. That part of you that says maybe later when the Spirit says now, it must go. That inner critic that whispers you're not worthy. Silence it with obedience. That fear of being seen in your fullness. Kill it with boldness. July 10th is not just a deadline. It's a line in the sand. You will either cross over into spiritual adulthood or retreat into another season of excuses. And Michael is not neutral. He's urging you forward. Not gently, but with thunder in his wings. Because the version of you that's rising is not fragile. It's ferocious. It's focused. It's free. Type I'm rising to get blessing 5678. But you can't rise without release. You must release the version of yourself that thrives in chaos because it's all you've ever known. You must release the part that bonds with others through pain rather than through purpose. You must release the patterns that make you feel safe but secretly drain your soul. Michael says, the resurrection of your purpose begins with the funeral of your false self. Mourn it, honor it, but do not resurrect it. That version kept you alive, but it cannot take you where heaven is leading. And know this, you don't have to be perfect to be chosen. You just have to be willing. Willing to let go. Willing to trust. Willing to rise without needing applause. Willing to walk alone if that's what clarity requires. Heaven's not looking for polished. Heaven is looking for ready. And after everything you've been through, your scars are not your disqualification. They are your credibility. They prove you were forged in fire. But now, it's time to come out of the flames and build. Type I am ready to get the blessing 2424. You've confronted the enemy within. You've started peeling back the layers of your false self. But now Archangel Michael speaks with urgency. It's not enough to walk away from what you're not. You must walk toward what you're assigned to become. July 10th is not just a day of separation. It's a day of activation. Everything you've survived has been building toward this moment. The wins weren't random. The delays weren't mistakes. The silence wasn't rejection. All of it was preparation for an assignment that only your obedience can activate. And here is what you must understand. Your assignment is not about you. It's about the lives connected to your yes. Someone is waiting on the other side of your breakthrough. Someone's healing depends on your surrender. Someone's clarity will come through your courage. Heaven doesn't just bless individuals, it launches movements. And Michael is reminding you now, you are a movement in motion. But motion requires momentum. And momentum requires a decision. A decision is overdue. Type I am activated to get the blessing 9595. Too often, we think divine assignments feel glamorous, that they arrive with fireworks, clarity, and applause. But more often, they begin with interruptions, a restlessness that will go away, a conversation that lingers in your spirit, a vision you can't shake. That's not a distraction. That's the divine blueprint being unsealed. Michael says that your blueprint has been waiting for years, hovering above you like a scroll in the spirit, visible to the angels, invisible to your natural eye. But now it's descending. The question is, will you pick it up or pretend you didn't see it? Because this is where the self-sabotage often creeps back in. It whispers, you're not ready. You're not good enough. You made too many mistakes. But heaven already factored in your failures. You're not chosen despite them. You're chosen because of how you rose from them. What qualifies you is not your perfection, but your survival. Michael reminds you, the scars you hide are the exact reasons you were called. The pain you buried is the very tool you're meant to wield. What the enemy used to break you, God will use to build others. Type I am chosen to get the blessing 3636. But this calling will cost you. It always does. The higher the assignment, the deeper the sacrifice. You will lose people who like the unhealed version of you better. You will feel lonely in rooms where you once felt at home. You will have to decline opportunities that feed your ego but starve your soul. That's not punishment. That's promotion. Michael says, do not mourn what is removed when you say yes to heaven. Every removal is a realignment. You must make peace with being misunderstood, with walking alone, with not explaining yourself to those who never saw your spirit anyway. Because the assignment is bigger than a pause. It's bigger than comfort. It's bigger than being liked. You've been called to disturb darkness, to dismantle cycles, to declare things that make people uncomfortable. And if you keep waiting for approval, you'll abort the assignment. There comes a moment where the fear of staying small becomes greater than the fear of stepping out. This is that moment. July 10th has arrived to divide your timeline, before clarity and after obedience. Type I am aligned to get the blessing 4841. Michael isn't asking you to know every detail. He's asking you to say yes to the next step. It's all heaven ever needs to move. Yielded spirit. Because when you say yes, angels are dispatched. Chains are broken. Doors are unlocked. The winds begin to shift. But a closed mouth in the spirit means a stalled mission. You must speak it. Yes to clarity. Yes to surrender. Yes to purpose. You must come into agreement with what God already decided about you long ago. Your destiny doesn't begin when everything is perfect. It begins now, in the middle of your uncertainty. And that uncertainty you feel is sacred. It's the space where faith is forged. If you felt ready, it wouldn't be real obedience. It would be comfort. But the fact that it terrifies you means it's holy. Heaven is not calling you to something convenient. It is calling you to something consequential. Your yes today alters timelines, not just yours, but for generations after you. This is your Abraham moment, your Esther moment, your David before Goliath moment. Say yes, and then walk like you meant it. If this word has stirred your spirit and ignited boldness within you, consider showing your support with a super thanks of $20. Your generosity empowers us to continue releasing prophetic guidance, clarity, and strength to those journeying from betrayal to blessing. You can also support our mission through PayPal donation by clicking the Support Here link in the video description. Every contribution makes a meaningful impact and helps us keep creating and sharing with you. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a moment of divine instruction, heavenly insight, and spirit-led guidance designed for your breakthrough. Type I am surrendered to get the blessing 5252. You said yes. Or maybe you're finally leaning into it. Either way, Archangel Michael warns, a true yes in the spirit doesn't end the battle, it begins it. The moment you align with heaven's will, hell takes notice. Not because you're weak, but because you've become dangerous. Your yes awakened realms. You shook atmospheres. You rattled the cages of complacency. The enemy's greatest fear was never that you would fail, it was that you would finally obey. Because your obedience breaks more than chains, it breaks patterns. And patterns are how the enemy keeps generations in bondage. Michael says the resistance you feel now is not a sign that you're wrong. It's a sign that you're righteous. When you start moving in divine purpose, opposition comes disguised as fatigue, confusion, busyness, and self-doubt. This is spiritual warfare in its most deceptive form. Not loud, but subtle. Not chaotic, but familiar. That's why the enemy sends counterfeits right after your commitment. Relationships, opportunities, even revelations that feel good but pull you out of alignment. Not everything that sounds spiritual is sent by heaven. Type I am grounded to get the blessing 6868. You must guard your yes like a soldier guards a command post. That means setting spiritual boundaries that protect your purpose. Stop entertaining conversations that drain your clarity. Stop explaining your transformation to people who only knew your trauma. Stop returning to old habits just because the new ones feel foreign. Michael is clear. Your yes made you a target, but it also made you a weapon. You are now a vessel carrying kingdom weight. And vessels must be consecrated. They must be clean. They must be guarded, not because they are perfect, but because they are essential. Don't be surprised if isolation increases. Don't be shocked if people start distancing themselves. That's not always warfare. It's divine pruning. Everyone can't handle the version of you that walks in fire and doesn't burn. Everyone won't understand the quiet confidence that obedience brings. You'll be called arrogant, distant, even delusional. But don't defend yourself. Let your fruit speak. Heaven doesn't need you to be liked. It needs you to be set apart. Michael says, this is the season where alignment matters more than attention. And if you crave the spotlight, you will forfeit the mantle. Type I am set apart to get the blessing 1010. You've probably already noticed the increase in distractions. More things pulling at your attention. More people needing your time. More chaos disguised as urgent. But urgency is not the same as importance. And busyness is not the same as productivity. One of the enemy's favorite post-yes tactics is spiritual noise, filling your day so full that you don't have time to nurture your yes. Don't fall for it. Your peace must be protected like treasure. Your alone time with God must be non-negotiable. Because obedience is not a one-time act. It's a daily lifestyle. You must tend to your yes like a garden, or weeds will creep in unseen. Michael's message cuts through. You are now carrying revelation, and revelation will cost you relationships, rhythms, and routines that no longer fit the weight of your calling. This is where the temptation to revert will hit hardest, to go back to old ways, to shrink back into the familiar. But do not let the blessing of peace fool you into thinking the war is over. Peace is not the absence of battle, it's the presence of God in the middle of it. The fact that things feel calm for a moment doesn't mean you're safe to stop pressing. It means it's time to go deeper. Type I am advancing to get the blessing 4545. Don't make the mistake of confusing a lull with a release. Some storms come after the silence, and heaven needs you vigilant. You're not being paranoid. You're being trained. The level of spiritual alertness required in this season is higher. Your dreams will be louder. Your discernment will sharpen. But with that comes the responsibility to respond to what you see and hear. When heaven shows you something, act on it. Don't delay. Don't second guess. Delayed obedience is still disobedient. And disobedience in this season could cost more than you realize. And yet, despite the pressure, you must remember, you were built for this. The same power that called you is now dwelling within you. Michael isn't just your protector. He is your partner in battle. Angels are encamping around you. The Spirit is guiding you. Heaven is backing you. But you must not quit. Not now. You've come too far. Your yes is not small. It's seismic. It is shaking foundations. It is unlocking things in the spirit you can't even see yet. Don't stop here. Type I am unstoppable to get the blessing 7878. You said yes. You guarded your yes. And now Michael speaks with authority. Because you have obeyed in secret, heaven is responding in strength. The silence has broken. The resistance has been recorded. And now divine reinforcement is being dispatched to your spirit, your space, and your assignment. You are no longer fighting alone. The moment you obeyed without needing proof, angels were released with strategies, resources, and interventions. What felt like a dry place is about to overflow. What felt barren is about to birth. Not because you shouted, but because you surrendered. Michael says, obedience always triggers motion in the unseen. You may not see the angels standing guard at your front door, but they are there. You may not hear the prayers your grandmother whispered decades ago, but they echo over your destiny now. Divine backup doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a canceled meeting that protected you from betrayal. Sometimes it's a delay that robbed you from danger. Sometimes it's a stranger's word that jolts you out of doubt. And now, July 10th marks the day divine protection shifts from passive to personal. Type I am covered to get the blessing 9191. This is what Michael calls the reward of alignment. Heaven never forgets those who move when it hurts, who say yes when it costs, to keep building when no one notices. The Lord doesn't only anoint the loud, He rewards the consistent. You have been proving your faith in the shadows, and the spotlight of favor is coming, not for your fame, but for heaven's purpose. You will start to see sudden clarity, sudden peace, sudden removal of confusion. Not because the battle disappeared, but because heaven just activated a greater dimension of protection around your life. You'll notice certain people start falling off, not because they are bad, but because they are not assigned to this altitude. Obedience is a natural filter. It purifies your circle. It refines your atmosphere. You don't have to block or force anything. Heaven is doing the separation for you now. Michael says, when you rise in obedience, everything connected to your old level begins to fall away. Don't grieve the disconnections. Bless them and let them go. Their assignment in your life has expired, and holding on out of sentimentality will only drain your next season. Type I am protected to get the blessing 3030. But don't confuse backup with coasting. This is not the time to relax into spiritual laziness. The presence of angelic help is not an invitation to passivity. It's a summons to greater responsibility. Now that you're being covered more closely, you're also being watched more closely. Your words carry more weight. Your steps matter. Your posture in silence will determine how heaven moves in your favor. This is the moment where discipline must meet destiny. Not perfection, posture. You must keep tending the fire of your yes, not letting it grow cold under pressure. Michael speaks firmly now. Every place you were once unguarded is being fortified. The areas where you used to doubt, strengthened. The places where you were easily triggered, healed. The soul wounds that were keeping your spirit in delay, closed. Not because time passed, but because you obeyed in alignment. That obedience gave heaven permission to finish what it started. It gave the spirit space to build you from within. And that internal upgrade will begin to show externally in the coming days. Type I am renewed to get the blessing 4646. You'll wake up lighter. Think clear. Speak wiser. Not because the world changed him, but because you did. The weight that was once crushing you will feel like a feather, not because it vanished, but because heaven has adjusted your capacity. You've been enlarged in silence, strengthened in the fire, anointed in the wilderness, and now your walk will shift. You will walk like someone backed by angels, not in arrogance but in authority, not in fear but in fire. Michael declares, the ones who see you now won't recognize you, and that's divine. Let them question, let them doubt, but you know what you walked through, and heaven is keeping receipts. So don't shrink now. Don't get casual now. This is not the end of your obedience. It's the beginning of impact. You've passed through negation. You've endured the hidden warfare. And now divine backup surrounds you as you take bold steps into the territory already promised. No more hesitation. No more second guessing. Yes, obedience. Just fire. Just heaven moving through you, unapologetically. Type I am backed by heaven to get the blessing 3699. Now that divine backup has arrived, Archangel Michael turns your focus to the next shift. You must stop living like someone who is merely protected. You must start walking like someone who is empowered. There's a difference. Protection shelters you, but empowerment releases you. You're no longer just being shielded from harm. You are being authorized to confront darkness, to shift atmospheres, and to command spiritual climates wherever you go. That level of power can no longer be passive. It must become your posture. Your authority in Christ is not conditional. It is activated by belief. This is why everything up to this point, your obedience, your warfare, your surrender, was necessary. Heaven couldn't release this level of authority until you prove you wouldn't misuse it. Power without purification leads to pride, and pride disconnects you from the divine source. But now, you've passed through the purging fire. You've sacrificed in silence. You've chosen alignment over applause. And because of that, you're being handed the spiritual keys you didn't even know were missing. These are not metaphorical, they are functional. You will now walk into rooms and things will shift before you speak. Not because of charisma, but because of consecration. Type I am empowered to get the blessing 8822. Michael says, you don't just carry light. You carry governmental authority. That means your voice has legislative power in the realm of the spirit. You declare healing, and it begins. You rebuke confusion, and minds clear. You speak peace and storms pause. You weren't created to merely survive darkness. You were designed to displace it. This is why the warfare intensified when it did. The enemy knew what you were being prepared for. He wasn't fighting your past. He was trying to block your power. But now the power had been unlocked. You are no longer on the defense. You are on divine offense. You must begin to decree, not just plead. To command, not just request. There is a time for humble petitioning. But this is not that time. This is the hour to walk in boldness, knowing that heaven is echoing your words when they align with divine purpose. No more whispering prayers out of fear. No more apologizing for your discernment. No more minimizing your calling to make others comfortable. You are not here to play small. You are here to establish kingdom order, first in your house, then in your circle, then in every space your feet tread. Type I am commanding to get the blessing 7,373. And yes, there will be resistance. Not everyone will celebrate this version of you. You'll feel tension. You'll face subtle spiritual pushback, because hell is nervous. It remembers when you used to second-guess your gift, when you used to bow to fear. But that version of you no longer exists. You've crossed the threshold. And now, every time you speak life where there was death, every time you set boundaries where there was chaos, every time you lift your voice with clarity instead of confusion, heaven recognizes it as war. And Michael smiles, because you are no longer being protected. You are participating. Don't look for confirmation in people. Look for fruit in the Spirit. Your authority will not always be affirmed by applause, but it will always be confirmed by movement. And as you speak, declare, and walk, things will shift, suddenly and without warning. That's not coincidence. That's kingdom in action. You are operating now in what Michael calls apostolic flow, a spiritual force where the will of heaven manifests through your obedience in real time. That's not for the elite. That's for the obedient. And you've already proved you qualify. Type I am flowing to get the blessing 9,898. But be vigilant. With great authority comes increased responsibility. Stay hidden in the secret place. Stay grounded in the Word. Stay sensitive to the Spirit. Authority without intimacy will turn into ambition. And ambition is where corruption begins. Michael urges you. Your power must always submit to purity. Keep your motives clean. Keep your posture low. And heaven will keep expanding your reach. This isn't the climax, it's the commissioning. Your next steps matter. Every conversation, every prayer, every move. You are not just shifting your life. You are creating ripple effects for others to rise behind you. You've gone from running for protection to walking in power to now leading in purpose. You didn't get here by accident. You were forged in silence, sharpened by truth, strengthened by storms. The mantle on your life is real. The weight you carry is divine. You're no longer wondering if you're chosen. You know it. And that knowing is what unlocks the next level. Not louder steps, but firmer ones. Not shouting your arrival, but owning your assignment. If this word has resonated with your spirit and awakened fresh boldness in your heart, we invite you to sow a super thanks of $20. Your support helps us continue sharing prophetic insight, clarity, and strength with others navigating the path from betrayal to blessing. You can also partner with us through a donation via PayPal. Just click the support here link in the video description. Every gift, big or small, fuels our ability to keep delivering encouragement and truth to those who need it most. And be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a moment of divine direction, spirit-led revelation, and timely encouragement crafted for your breakthrough. Type I am walking in purpose to get the blessing 6263. Now that you're walking in divine authority, Archangel Michael leans in again. Be alert. Your atmosphere is shifting because your assignment has expanded. You may not have realized it yet, but the spiritual ground beneath your feet has changed. Where you once felt ignored, you'll now be noticed. Where there was confusion, now there will be clarity. But this shift in atmosphere isn't just to make life easier. It's because your territory has increased. You are no longer operating under the weight of survival. You're now carrying the mantle of divine influence, and influence always stirs activity in the spirit realm. Michael says, you will begin to feel resistance in areas you never did before, not because you're weaker, but because you've stepped onto new ground. This is what spiritual elevation feels like. It's not just a promotion in favor, it's a promotion in pressure. But pressure isn't punishment, it's placement. Just as you once had to discern who didn't belong in your old season, now you must discern what thoughts, behaviors, and spiritual postures can't come into this one. The same strategies that sustained you before will not support you now. You must evolve again. Type I am shifting to get the blessing 4747. You've been assigned to carry light into darker places, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and relationally. People will begin to come to you not for casual conversation, but for breakthrough. And you must not take that lightly. Your words will carry healing. Your presence will carry weight. Some won't even understand why they feel different after being near you, but you'll know. It's the residue of heaven, now resting on your spirit. That's why your sensitivity has increased. Why silence feels deeper. Why worship hits differently. Why certain crowds no longer feel like home. It's not disconnection. It's divine concentration. Michael makes it clear. When your spiritual atmosphere changes, your external assignments must adjust. This means saying no more often. It means not engaging in arguments beneath your calling. It means removing yourself from distractions disguised as obligations. You are in the midst of a holy relocation, not of geography, but of responsibility. Where you once just survived spiritual battles, you now govern spiritual ground. You are not just being watched by heaven, you are now trusted by heaven. And that level of trust cannot be wasted. Type I am trusted to get the blessing 8881. Let's be real. This won't always feel glamorous. Some days it will feel like spiritual weight, like unseen responsibility, like warfare without witnesses. But make no mistake, heaven sees. The angels record. And your obedience in this new assignment will open doors you don't even have the language to pray for yet. Don't measure the value of your calling by the reactions of those around you. Measure it by the magnitude of internal alignment. You'll know you're in position when peace outweighs applause, when clarity silences chaos, when obedience becomes your joy, not your burden. And yes, you may feel moments of fatigue. That's natural. But you're not running on your own anymore. Heaven is now releasing sustaining grace. You'll notice this when you speak and don't feel drained. When you pray and clarity drops mid-sentence. When you make bold decisions and peace follows without delay. That's not coincidence. That's divine wind. It's the supernatural current of your calling, finally flowing with you instead of against you. All because you surrendered. All because you said yes. Type I am carried by grace to get the blessing 1212. Michael reminds you that leadership in the Spirit does not require a title. It requires posture. You may not wear a collar, hold a mic, or run a ministry, but your walk carries fire. Your yes shakes regions, and your daily decisions to align, obey, and intercede are causing ripple effects that you may never see, but heaven is tracking every one of them. This is kingdom influence in its purest form, not platform-based, but presence-based. You don't have to try to be influential. When God trusts you with spiritual weight, it follows you. So move intentionally now. Every step is strategic. Every conversation is an assignment. Every interruption could be divine. Don't live casually in a season that requires consecrated focus. You're not just living day by day anymore. You are governing time. You are redirecting atmospheres. You are carrying legacy. And heaven is watching how you manage what you've been given. Michael says this season is not about getting more, it's about mastering what you already carry. And once you master it, more will come without you asking. Type I am stewarding well to get the blessing 6464. And now we come to the closing of this divine message, a message that was never casual, never random, and never meant for the crowd. Archangel Michael says with finality, if you've made it here, it's because this word was assigned to your spirit before you even pressed play. July 10th was never just a date on the calendar. It was a spiritual checkpoint, a holy line in the sand where heaven paused your atmosphere long enough for you to listen. And you did. You stayed. You endured the fire of truth, the weight of confrontation, and the calling to rise. Now listen closely. You are no longer allowed to pretend you don't know who you are. And no more thinking. No more delaying. No more bargaining with the Spirit over what you've been shown. You know now. And because you know, you're accountable. Michael speaks these words with trembling power. The next time you feel the pull to ignore your gift, to betray your calling, or to entertain what heaven has already removed, remember this moment. Because this was not just a message, it was a spiritual activation. You have been awakened, and awakening always comes before assignment. Yes, there will be more battles, but you won't fight them as the old you. You won't enter them confused or unarmed. From this point forward, you are walking as someone who's been warned, equipped, and empowered. The signs are no longer subtle, they are undeniable. And should you choose to ignore them again, the consequences will not be random. They will be the results of willful deafness. Heaven does not take lightly the soul who receives divine instruction and returns to chaos. But the blessing is this: you don't have to walk back. You can walk forward now, bold, aware, and deeply covered. Type I'm sealed to get the final blessing 9999. As Michael withdraws his voice, he leaves you with this: you are the one. Not because you're perfect, not because you were ready, but because you said yes when it mattered most. So rise, govern your atmosphere, discern with precision, move with fire, and never again say, I didn't know, because now you do. Final blessing released, 9999, completion, divine sealing, new authority. This message was sent, not spoken, received, not earned. Live like it. If this word has ignited something in your spirit and stirred fresh courage within you, we encourage you to respond with a super thanks of $20. Your support enables us to continue releasing prophetic words that bring clarity, healing, and hope to those moving from betrayal into breakthrough. You can also donate through PayPal by clicking the Support Here link in the video description. Every seed sown strengthens our ability to speak life and truth into the lives of others. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of spirit-led wisdom, prophetic direction, and divine encouragement tailored to your season of transformation.